Well,
I was
hey
nearly
there,
born ready.
Jason.
Hey, Kathy, how are you?
I'm good. It's time. It's time for transportation talk. It's the best time of the week, Jason.
It is, Kathy, the best time of the week, the best time to be able to just let my hair down and enjoy a few minutes with you, and talk about things that are not only prevalent to our lives, but really prevalent to the transportation industry and how we do things and how we help people here locally, not only in Clatsop County, but holy cow, Kathy, I just realized Tillamook and Columbia counties. And I mean, you know what? We
And
reach way out there
beyond.
and
And
beyond. Yes. So
beyond.
there's a lot to be thankful for in this world and being able to talk about transportation and how we do these things. So
hmm
I'm
And
glad to see it, Kathy.
we've got all kinds of stuff going on. It's October. It has also been referred to as Walktober for those of you out
Walktober.
there in the world. And
Yeah.
it's Get There challenge time. You still have a
Right.
few more days left to log those achievements, not just your trips, but you got to
Right.
do the achievements in there so that you're eligible by earning points to get into those prize drawings. And we want to give out some more prizes here locally, and we want you to be able to win some of those statewide prizes too. So it's Get There challenge time. It's Walktober, and October is also Emergency Preparedness Month. And of course,
Yes.
Jason and I like to take everything that is, these big concepts and boil them down to how do they relate to you in transportation and how you get around.
It's really good that you asked that question, Kathy, and how do they relate to you? How do they relate to what we do on a daily basis? And yes, Emergency Preparedness Month is such a big opportunity for people to learn and understand how to save themselves, save their families, to protect themselves and property and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to talk about something that is just I'm telling you, Kathy, I've had the last couple of days. And when we were looking and thinking about subjects to talk about, and for people out there, we sometimes we don't have a really good beat on what we're going to talk about on the week, for transportation talk. But today it was like, well, what are we going to, well, not maybe today, but we were going to talk about. And I'm like, hey, Kathy, I have had a lot of problem solving opportunities that have come up. And what, by golly,
Curveballs for those of you out there in the baseball
yes,
fandom.
exactly. Curveballs, doinks in football. I don't care, whatever you want to call it. Point is, it has been,
Roadblocks.
yes, it has been a week, as they say, I think, back east there. And it's been challenging. A lot of the challenges have been good, but I thought, hey, Kathy, let's talk about how to overcome or how to face problem solving. And I think, and people have a problem overcoming that, especially when they're new to riding transit or taking multiple different transportation options. People taking their first carpool, maybe, they might not be able to make it over maybe that next step because they don't understand how to maybe solve a particular problem. So I was thinking, let's talk about that. And I tell you, I've got some experiences I'm going to share and kind of bake into what we're talking about, Kathy. So I'm ready to go with really kind of, what do you think about giving 5 maybe tips on how to solve
Absolutely. I think
problems?
that whenever we boil it down to 5 tips, it makes these instructionals, these tips, a little
Yeah,
bit more manageable, and people can actually
definitely.
put them to work for them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the most important and my favorite of the tips is the number one tip.
Yes. The number one tip, Kathy, is you need to calm down. Okay. One of my favorite shows, TV shows I ever
Don't
watched, it
panic.
was it was a whooshaw, right? Okay. I can't remember what that's from. I think it might be from a Lethal Weapon show. I can't remember. Anyhow, point is you've just got to calm down. Don't
hmm
panic. Panic is your worst enemy.
hmm
And I'll tell you, yesterday I was riding my bicycle. And for those of you out there who've watched the show quite a bit, you know that I commute a lot on bicycle. Well, I got a flat rear tire when I didn't think I should have. It was one of those moments, oh, you're kidding me. Um, and my immediate reaction was, first of all, thankfully I keep myself safe and all that. But once I had to start walking my bike to a safe area to take a look at it, all these things started popping in my head. Oh, great. Now I'm going to miss dinner. I'm going to have to do this. And I don't have a tire patch kit. All these things just started coming up. And when it started overloading my brain and throw in there a stressful day, next thing you know, I'm panicking. And you didn't say I was panicking. Maybe I wasn't, but maybe I was just kind of
Well, a tantrum
frustrated.
is what panicking can look like as well.
Oh,
You know,
yes. Maybe I
panicking
was
looks
doing that.
different for different people. So
That's true. But, there was 5 bees, 5, and I counted 5 of them. And they decided to actually attack me while I was trying to assess the damage of my bike. So maybe that's where the panicking came in. So the people driving past me probably were like, what is this guy doing? He's crazy, And then I realized what I was doing. I was actually flinging my high-vis vest around trying to whack him. And anybody who knows anything about bees probably knows that they're a little more attracted to those bright, shiny objects. So there I was. Hey, come on in. Here's dinner, kind of thing. So, but yes, I panicked, and it didn't do me any good because all it did is it stressed me out. I wasn't able to eventually move to step number 2, Kathy, which once you've calmed down, right, it's important. And I know you've had situations that have popped up in your life, and especially and even in your transportation career life, is you have to, first of all, stop your panicking, or you have to calm down, okay? But you have to then move into step number 2, which is to avoid what I'm calling runaway thoughts or jumping to conclusions. And I don't know, Kathy, if you can give me an example of what it's like to, once you've calmed down a little bit and now you're trying to start the problem solving part or process where you run away with conclusions, wrong conclusions. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Well, if you're able to, calm down and don't panic, you're pulling yourself away from the world is out to get me type of thoughts.
Yeah,
and
right.
I never can be successful, or I never will make it, or all of those things are not productive. And if you get through that, if you get past that, because there's a certain amount of that you deal with, and then you're like, wait, deep breath, and that's not real. And what really does this all boil down to?
Right.
Where is the actual issue?
That's right. Yeah, and I like the way you say that, how it pulls you away from that. I often, when I'm training individuals, as we're working through the process of training and teaching somebody how to ride a bus, you can see they're moving with their eyes, and their heads are in there. And what that is connotating is that they're thinking, what do I do here? What do I do there? What is going to happen to me here? What is going to happen to me here? And you could just see that they're gaining it. A lot of it's fear-based too, and they, even with a trainer with them, helping them out, they're still, am I going to remember what he said? What happens if I forget? What if I don't write this down right? What if I can't understand him or something, right? And so you can see that kind of that runaway, thought process. It's not fun to be with. And I hope that if you're out there and you have calmed yourself down, and now you're starting to look, that you will do everything that you can to just relax for a second and just let yourself run down for just a second, and then think clearly about your situation. And don't let your mind, I think you said, Kathy, that it just wastes energy, doesn't it? When you just run away with other thoughts, just focus. Okay. And doing that gets us to tip number 3, Kathy, right? Tip number 3. And this is one of the hard, depending on what you're doing, it's hard. So I don't know, maybe you can help me out with this, but I say that it's really important that now that you've relaxed, now that you've centered your thought and you don't have those runaway thoughts anymore, now it's like, okay, where am I? What is happening? And I write things down, right? So like when I'm, especially when I'm at work here and I'm doing maybe extra duties and stuff, and there are things that are popping up that I'm not used to, that I'm starting to kind of get amped up over, I stop and I write stuff down, and I just write down a list, what I'm thinking, or it could be a little paragraph. I find lists work better for me. And so I sit down and I write it out. And then what that allows me to do is, because now your mind is moving more into that critical part. Now I got to think critically, right? And you've moved from calming down to now you're thinking. And so I'm going to write it down so I can break it out and move on to my next step. But what do you think about writing, Kathy? Is there an alternative way that we can do that? I didn't
Sure,
have a
and the
pen last night.
right, yeah, and the way that I think of that is, if you're not in an office or an at home or a piece of
Hmm.
paper and pen type of situation, it's just what you're looking at, just what your next step is. And
Right.
you just do that one next step. And then that leads you to, okay, then what do I do after that? You do that next step. And so
Yeah.
you're going through that list that you would have been writing down, but you're doing it
Right.
just with actions, which then that actually taking actions is diffusing a lot of that concern and that worry and that fear and that stress that you might have built up, that you've calmed down from, but it's still kind of in the back of your mind. And as you're
Yeah.
going through those things and you're doing one step and the next step, you're finding success, and you're finding you're able to you're tackling those things that are on your list, and it's moving you forward, and it's getting you out of whatever the situation that you're in.
That's really, really good that you mentioned it that way, because that's how it ultimately ended up working out for me, as I got past, step 2 and into step 3, and really starting to calm down and then really focusing on moving forward. I had to do those things in order, one, like you say, one step at a time, and Kathy, I don't know if you feel the same way at times with stuff, but for me, life in general, or anything that we may do professionally as well. For me, I've come to realize that life is really about solving problems. Really, it's like, I mean, yes, we enjoy life. We have periods of times where it's not all problems. I get it, but it's like, even if you're just sitting on the sofa watching Thursday night football, like I'm going to do tonight for my Bears, go Bears. If you're sitting down watching Thursday night football and you feel a little hungry or something like that, well, that's a problem. Okay, so now you've got to try to solve that problem. It's a challenge, yeah. And so you want to try to solve that challenge, and I get up and go and solve that challenge and everything, and
so your
grab myself some
challenge might
chips.
be not that you're hungry, but that what do you do? Which one's more important?
That's right.
Watching
That's
every
right.
second of the game,
Oh,
or taking care of yourself? And
that's right.
so
Or remembering to pause Amazon Prime so I can go grab that snack. But got you on that one.
and
But
so right, but that's one of the things, is that there
yep,
may not only be one answer. So there's
sure,
multiple
absolutely.
answers, and none of them necessarily are wrong. They're just, okay, I'm going to do this first. Oh wait,
That's
but I
right.
like this idea better, so I'm going to do that as well. And
Yep.
so there can be a infinite combination of right answers.
You know, as we continue to talk about this, and now we move into tip number 4, I love tip number 4 the most, because this is where I feel like I'm strongest at. And Kathy, you seem like you would be strong in this area too. And I think a lot of people out there would recognize that, solving problems, or these tips to solving problems, it's not just about critical thinking. It's not about only lists and stuff. Okay, you're going to come up with some of that stuff, but ultimately in the end, it's really cool to be creative. Most of us have a little bit of creativity in order for us to solve problems. And I think that's one of the most, I guess, if you want to, what is your problem solving superpower? I'd like to think my problem solving superpower is being creative about finding a solution. Kathy, I don't know. What do you feel about being creative and problem solving?
Absolutely. And that kind of is what I was hinting at with the infinite amount of right answers. And so
Right. Mm-hmm.
there isn't just one. And so if you get to use your own experiences and your own perspectives to come up with a creative solution to your challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Like last
so Jason,
night.
how did you fix your challenge?
Well, yeah. So, you get to this point where I got to now trying to figure out, okay, how to solve the problem.
You're
I had
never
to
going to
up,
bike commute anymore, ever, right?
I'm never going to bike commute. No, no.
But that was something you thought, right?
I did think about not wanting to bike commute anymore. I thought about the problems now that my commute, instead of I've now accepted that my commute's 45 minutes. Now it's going to take me a total of an hour and a half to get home. All these things crossed my mind, and I'm like, okay, now I don't trust my bike. Yes, all these things were crossing my mind. And I'm like, how am I going to come up with my solutions? What am I going to do? I need to get out of the situation I'm in, but I also need to come up with a solution that'll work, because no matter how much I groaned about it, I love bike commuting. And I'm going to do it again. I don't care if I get 20 flat tires. Well, maybe I care a little bit, but still, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to continue to commute. So I needed to solve how to get out of my predicament last night. And so I thought, well, I could walk all the way home, but that's about 8 miles. Not get home for quite a while.
That's possible, but
it's possible.
Not the best, maybe not the best solution.
No, I mean, I don't have a patch kit, dummy. Put a patch kit in there next time. You know, that's what I was thinking to myself. Make sure you have a patch kit in there. But it came down to, oh, wait a minute. I have a bike rack on the car at home. You know, my wife is at home. Yeah. Okay. There's the solution. Okay, Jason, you got it. Just call your wife. She's always been supportive of your bicycle commuting. She knows, because I think we've talked about this on a show previously, that there needs to be a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a plan in your commuting. Whatever it is you're doing, always have a backup plan. And I had failed to understand early on that, oh, that's right, I can call my wife. She's supportive and she'll be here in 5-6 minutes and we'd be good. And sure enough, that's what happened. Ironically, I had a couple of friends that passed by right after I called my wife, said, do you need help? So there were other solutions that were available to me there. But no, I just have my wife. She has the bike rack already on the car. And so we were able to do that. So I found that solution. But what I wanted to kind of break into a little bit, Kathy, is thankfully, I had a couple of friends who did see me, who stopped by and provided to me multiple options, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to do what really the step 4 says, is to, access, the creative part, figure out how to solve your solution, but really coming up with several solutions if you can, right? And I call them A, B, C. And, in all my life that I've been problem solving, Kathy, I've never had solution A ever work out. It's always usually B or C that works out for me. But in this case, A worked out. It was the wife. My wife was so willing to come help. And so there it was. Option A was perfect. But again, I came up with a solution and I was able to execute that solution. But I seem to remember, Kathy, didn't you have some, I can't remember, you were traveling cross country and you had some
car trouble?
Car trouble or issues with kiosks? I can't remember. But there was something that when you were traveling.
In my travels, there's been all different issues for sure.
Yeah, but you've had to kind of come to that solution too, right?
Yeah. So the car troubles one, I was driving my car that was fully packed, like overpacked, with tons of stuff. So it was super heavy.
Yeah.
And I was driving cross country with my dog, and I got a flat tire going down the highway.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
And we talked about this with the emergency manager for Cannon Beach.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first thing you do is, oh boy, oh my God, you have that blip where your brain tells you you're gonna die. And luckily that one didn't last that long. I took a full deep breath and I realized I was fine. I looked in my mirrors, there's nobody around me, and I pulled off the road, and I happened to be right at an exit. So I pulled up to up on an exit ramp and stopped.
Cool.
And then all of the different, things, scenarios go through your head. I've watched all kinds of movies about all the dangerous and horrible things that can happen to a person by themselves on a highway in the middle of nowhere where they don't live. And then I let those go and moved on to, okay, call a friend, take some pictures, make sure people know where you are.
Right.
Call AAA. Get some, find a tow truck that can come in and fix your flat tire. Of course, there was also the option of unpack your whole car so you can get to the spare tire that's underneath everything that you have packed in your car.
No.
And so that was a viable option that I really didn't want to have to use. And so I tried all the other ones first. And
Good.
luckily that worked out. So, it
Yeah.
was the backup plan to the backup plan to the backup plan. And luckily I didn't have to get to that one. But yeah, traveling on the bus to go to the airport here from the coast to the airport, I was using the bus and the Max. And one of the times I went, the first time I went to go use the Max, the little ticket kiosk thing, the electronic reader, was broken.
Oh,
And I thought I was doing it wrong. And the Max was there. And couldn't get my ticket to read, and I didn't know what to do, so I let one of the trains go because I didn't want to get on the Max without a validated ticket. And that was
sure.
the stop that I was at with my suitcase to go to the airport. And I, had a little moment of panic, and what am I going to
Sure.
do, and how do I be able to board the Max? And I finally decided that, the next Max train that comes, I'm going to get on, whether I can get this machine to read my ticket or not. And in
Sure.
order to validate my story, in case somebody did check my ticket, I took a picture of the reader and that it wasn't working, so that I could
Nice.
show somebody, hey, I
Hmm.
tried. I was there. I did everything I could, and the reader wasn't working. And so that was my backup plan. And I got
Hey,
on the
that's a great
Max.
backup plan. That's awesome. Well, there you go. You went through the whole process, right? And
Yep.
ultimately, in the end, you found something and you were able to move on. But you did one very important thing, and it is actually our final tip, tip 5. Okay. And I forgot to do this. So, furthering my story from last night, right? I get all the way up to this point. I know what to do now. I get it. I'm ready to do it. I feel good. Maybe it was the bees. Maybe it was the traffic. I don't know. But I just neglected to call my wife for help
Oops.
for 15 minutes. For 15 minutes. And that was right when the time, Kathy, I texted you and you're like, what? Like that. And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, what? And next thing you know, there we are, right? And I realized I haven't even called my wife yet. And I think I might have even said, yeah, my wife's on the way.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you
yeah,
told me you'd already had. Yeah.
no, I didn't. And I realized I sat there for like 10 minutes, 12 minutes and wondering where she's at.
Well, that was
After my,
because I was having my own emergency of, oh, shoot, I didn't plan ahead, because I went to the office and grabbed the wrong keys and wasn't prepared to get
oh,
into the office because it was locked.
there
And
was,
so, I was texting and sharing my unprepared story, my little panic. And then you had a much better one. You trumped me
oh,
by
gee whiz, I don't know
1,000.
about that. Well, anyhow, so there we go, right? So what we do sometimes is when we go through all these, Kathy, and I'm going to just really briefly go through, right? One of the things is don't panic, right? That was number one, right? Don't panic. Number
Mm-hmm.
2 is to don't have runaway thoughts. Don't come to the bad
The
conclusions
world
that
is
we
not
all
out to
want to.
get you.
Yeah, exactly. And remember to realize, that, you write stuff down, develop steps in your head. If you can't write it down, break down what situation you're in so that you can work, towards getting out of that situation, and be creative really about how to get out of that situation that you're in, how to solve that problem. And
There's
then
more than one answer.
yes, there's more than one answer. And then execute that plan. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And it was rather comical. Thankfully, I was not in a situation where 15 minutes it was between life and death. But I just remember, oh my gosh, I got to call my wife. Now I got to wait there an extra 10, 15 minutes. So we got to do things, Kathy. We have to execute our plans, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you need
Yep.
help from somebody else, you have to let somebody else know.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to do that either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your situation had turned out with the keys or not, but if there was somebody here, go talk to them. Say,
Yep.
can you help me get into this where I need to go?
And that is exactly what happened. Somebody pulled up and I said, hey, I'm here to get into the office, and I didn't grab the right keys.
Oh my goodness. Well,
and they were more than happy to help. And so problem solved.
That is awesome. And so, Kathy, in this show, I really hope people were able to understand that, we have we go through challenges each and every single day. You and I do. Everybody out there listening on Facebook or YouTube, we go through challenges each and every single day. We hear you. We understand it.
We're real
Because
people. It happens to us
yeah,
too. Yep.
exactly. And just yesterday, I'm like, oh man, I want to share this, and let's talk about this kind of thing, because maybe there's somebody out there going through some challenges, and you can apply these steps, right, Kathy, to not only recreational things you're doing, life things that are going on, but also professionally. It works in every aspect of life.
Yep. Whether we're talking about applying it to commuting or your work life,
right,
or
exactly,
finding work, or family, or vacation, having fun. I mean,
oh yes,
yep, applies all the way around.
If you out there do need any help in understanding how to maybe solve a transportation problem, transportation options issue, challenges, whatever, you can call Kathy and I. We're here for you.
We are part of friend option.
Yeah, we're your phone a friend option. Absolutely, I like that. So don't ever be afraid to call us for even the craziest or the littlest little questions out there. We'll do everything we can to ensure that we help give you maybe perhaps a roadmap on how to break down and get these problems taken care of. So, Kathy, it has been a pleasure talking to you, and actually very great therapy for me. Thank you.
All right. I'm glad we can have a cathartic conversation about problem solving and overcoming roadblocks and challenges.
Absolutely.
It's a great way to go into the weekend.
It is. Enjoy your weekend, Kathy. Everybody out there, enjoy what I hope is going to be a phenomenal weekend. Good weather. It's a blast.
Last few days of the Get There Challenge, the 10th.
Oh, yes.
10th annual Get There Challenge. Make sure to get those achievements and get some points so that you can be in the drawing for those prizes, because there's some really good prizes out there.
That reminds me, I better get off this show and go do that right now.
You should.
Kathy, thank you very much.
Have a good day, everybody. Great weekend. Bye.